Hi, I am Dr. Kim Sage. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Welcome to my YouTube channel and to this series on understanding how our childhood impacts our relationship issues as adults. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and checking that little box, and that way you'll get notified when I post new videos. This channel is all about attachment and complex trauma and how to heal your life and relationships. And so I'm so glad you are here. If you're also new and you had parents who you think may have been borderline or narcissistic, who were really untreated and struggled, and or you're looking to understand your childhood more, or how to heal the inner child and learn to reparent and remother and love yourself, please check out my courses and the links down below. Today's video is about your anxiety in your attachment pattern and whether or not it is sabotaging your relationships. So we're going to get into this sort of pattern and kind of what we do when we have a more anxious attachment system. Quick reminder of the 4 attachment styles: secure, insecure, avoidant, and disorganized. That the anxious pattern is about 2 main things. It's about inconsistent and unresponsive caregiving and over-involvement in the caregiver's state of mind, meaning that the child was overly exposed to the adult feelings and moods and minds and fears and relationships and worries. It spilled over and the child often takes those on. And the caregivers were inconsistent. And so sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. I just described in yesterday's video, it's like the child on a crib where the parents came and went, right? They weren't completely gone and barely came back, like in a more avoidant style, but we didn't know when they were coming or going and how and what kind of mood they would be in. That's kind of what it looks like, right? So we'd be standing in that crib watching for any signs of, are they here? Are they not here? Are they going to be here? Or are they not going to be here? And that kind of plays out in a sense of, do I matter? Can I count on them filling my needs? Do my cries matter? How much should I worry about when they're gone or not? And things like that. So the heart of our story, when we have a more anxious attachment pattern, the heart is anxiety. Anxiety is the heart of our story. And so in our childhood with these nervous systems, we were always looking for the parent to help regulate that anxiousness. And in a sense, we kind of gave that away because when they came back or they reassured us, we could calm down. Well, that gets reinforced over and over again. And so over time, as I said yesterday, we start giving away all of our internalness, right? A lot of these people in this style tend to be caregivers. Our internalness, I don't want to make up these words. But basically, I'm looking for you to regulate me. It's an outside-in orientation. And so I need you to tell me that we're good, you're not going to leave me, you're not mad at me, you still love me, you care about our friendship, whatever. But I'm going to always be looking for signs that you're not doing and feeling and saying and thinking those things. And so that makes triggers basically everywhere in the relationship. So we have a super sensitive attachment system. That's the idea. And so what's really happening is that we are always looking for ways to be reassured. And so we will activate kind of this hyperactivation of behaviors and thoughts and ways to engage to get close to you, to kind of make sure that you're not going to leave us or abandon us or reject us. And so basically we have this activation strategy we use that are any kind of thoughts or feelings or behaviors that we feel like will bring you closer to us. It's almost like once we can think about you or minimize the issues or whatever we need to do to feel close to you to make that anxiety go away, and then you respond in a way that reestablishes, oh, you're not going to leave us, then that kind of helps us kind of regulate back down, right? That brings us back to a more stable state where we don't feel so threatened. But then, as I said, that happens again and again and again. But we become consumed with these thoughts at trying to get you back because we're so anxiously wired and anxious and responding from a more anxious spot. And so what happens is that emotional dysregulation we feel is hard to contain. And so it's obvious we're triggered because how? We start engaging in what I'll talk about tomorrow, which is protest behaviors. We start doing and saying and trying whatever we can to get you to come back and reassure us. Now that might look like pouting. I'm fine. We're in the car and I'm fine. Nothing's wrong, right? It's like clear something's wrong. It might look like the complete silent treatment. We don't respond to our partner. It might look like excessive emails and texts. It might playing a phone game where I act like I fell asleep and I didn't get your messages. So I'm trying to scare you or punish you into worrying about me or the relationship. Or I don't answer my phone intentionally just to make you worry and stress out about me. I might do things like keep score. I might be manipulative. I might say things like, which is not helpful to the relationship at all. Well, you know what? I don't know if I can do this much longer. I mean, that might be true, but when you use a threat over and over again, you know, I don't know if I can stay here anymore. Like I might just be done with this, but then you don't leave, right? So it's any kind of behavior like that. What happens is that starts to damage our relationships. That sabotages closeness. Now the irony here is we're trying to reconnect and get you to calm us down and reestablish closeness. But what does it do? It actually sabotages and damages relationships, because let's say I'm a more secure person, and if you're doing that, I'm not going to have a huge tolerance for you threatening and manipulating and not responding to my phone calls, or, you know, acting out and being hostile. Anybody who has a somewhat healthy attachment system, I don't like the word healthy, you know, I know I always say that, but you know, a somewhat secure system where they kind of know that that's not okay, is only going to have so much tolerance for that before they're like, yeah, I'm out. This is not healthy. And so those protest behaviors damage our relationships. And like I said, it's ironic because what we're trying to do is establish closeness. So we have this hyperactivation that we engage in. We have this protest behavior we engage in, all of which at times can sabotage. And really quickly, activating strategies that try to get us closer might mean that we're minimizing the reality of the relationship just to feel close to you. So I'm saying, oh, everyone makes mistakes. It's not that big of a deal, right? Things like that. When maybe it is a big deal. Maybe it's not an okay behavior. So that can be damaging in a different way, but to the entire relationship. And so what some of the research says is that the brains of people with an anxious attachment system react more strongly to thoughts of loss. And at the same time, so we're more triggered by what feels like rejection or loss or threat. At the same time, the regions of the brain that are normally used to help calm behaviors are under-recruited. What does that mean? We're not accessing and using those parts to calm down. We're actually increasing our activating responses. What's happening is, over time, that happens again and again. Once the attachment system, that threat, is activated, it's much harder to turn it off over time when you have this system, because you over time don't access and use the parts of the brain that have taught you to calm and soothe. You're used to hyperactivating and making it worse, kind of like throwing oil on the fire, right? It just gets worse. So that causes obviously damaging behaviors to relationships and keeps them stressful and blocks connection, right? It creates all kinds of chaos. And so everything is really a threat. And because our nervous systems, if we had a more anxious attachment system, that means we were often in that more sympathetic place, that more mobilized energy, fight or flight, gotta go, gotta do. Basically what happens is we need a story to explain that. And so we will grab, whatever story we can in our minds to try to tell ourselves, oh, that's what it is. But that's not always accurate, right? It's often not. Now it might be, maybe you're actually, and the research shows we're actually really good at detecting threats, but we often need to slow down in between our interpretations. So what I'm saying is that we're often good at reading nonverbals, at what's going on, but if we can give ourselves the space to process and calm down and then respond, the research shows we tend to respond pretty well, we tend to be pretty accurate. It's when we have that immediate threat, that immediate detection, and we don't pause, we just go right into our responsive brain, that can create damage to the relationship. And how? Because I'm now going to yell at you, I'm going to send a text message I'll regret later, or I'm going to block you and not respond to you, I'm going to say something threatening like, I'm done with this, I'm out of here, things like that. And so that's the problem. Your reaction may have been worthy and authentic, like it wasn't okay. But learning how to manage and navigate and tolerate that anxiety in the middle, that's the place where we need to work on. And that's the place, if we don't, can cause damage. So and definitely sabotage relationships, right? You can see how all of these things, at their core, we're just trying to establish closeness and feel secure. But oftentimes we end up doing things that actually create more disconnection, and or subconsciously we can choose partners who actually do activate our system. Because, for example, maybe they're more avoidant. And so our avoidant partners are saying and doing things that don't help. And that's why I think these videos are important no matter where you are on the spectrum in terms of your attachment system, whether it's your friendships or your relationships with your partners or your kids. It's important to know that it's a reciprocal dynamic. So it's not just those of us, let's say, who are more anxious working on our issues. It's also you, if you're avoidant, managing how you respond, and both of us trying to do things that don't sabotage, but actually do the opposite and increase connection. So that's kind of the root of it. If you are watching this video, I might encourage you to journal about if you notice, if you have this style, where do you think you do engage in certain threatening behaviors? What is threatening to you? What are some responses you'd like to work on and navigate differently? And then I'm going to talk tomorrow more specifically in the next few videos about how these protest behaviors can cause damage for all different types of attachment systems, and what's important to know about those and how to work on managing those. So I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.